2021 was definitely a year for film. It wasn't exactly greatly significant. Nothing truly groundbreaking really came out, but there was still a lot of really great content that was produced throughout the year, and I seen a good few of them. Not every single movie, which is unfortunate, but I will try to correct that by this year, hopefully. But I feel like I've seen enough good movies and bad movies to gather a list of some of them, if you will. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my top 10, I guess, best slash favorite movies of 2021. This is just going to be a top 10 list of the best movies of this specific year. And in the other video, I'll be doing a worst list, which I feel like I'm probably going to get a lot more out of than this one. But I do have a lot to say about some of the really good movies that came out, so I'm not going to ramble on anymore. Let's just get into the list. For my number 10 pick, I put Love and Monsters on it. I did a full in-depth review on the channel a good while ago, a couple of months ago. So if you want a big, in-depth analysis of the movie and full thoughts of it, you can go look at that video. But I'm just gonna quickly sum it up, putting it in this place. Dylan O'Brien plays a guy living in the monster apocalypse who goes on a journey to find his girlfriend that he got separated with because of the events of the apocalypse unfolding upon him. He comes across characters like Michael Rooker and a dog that he brings around with him. The effects in the movie look really great on all the monsters. I think they did a really good job with the CGI of them. Usually I'm more for practical effects in movies, but I found out they did actually use a good few practical effects in the movie along with CGI, and I think the blend of them works really well together. It makes it more enjoyable that way, and it makes more sense for the actual designs of the characters. So it's really creative the way they were able to put all of it together. The movie is really funny. It has some pretty great music choices in it that really fit a lot of the moods of the scenes. Charming, and I really hope a lot of people still seek this movie out years after the fact. I really don't want this to be like one of those forgotten movies that gets picked up after 10 years of it being released, because it's honestly a really special gem. For my 9th pick, I put Disney's Luca. It follows the story of two sea monsters, and the basic plot is just a slice of life coming of age story of the two of them trying to live normally in an Italian village as they have the powers to transform themselves into humans, to be inconspicuous, to live amongst people and just go about their lives. They want to get a Vespa, they want to go travel the world, they want to win a race near the end of the movie, all while trying to maintain the act that they are normal beings so they don't get hunted down by everyone, because in the context of the movie, people don't like sea monsters and they try to hunt them down. This is a really nice movie, honestly. One of the better Disney animated ones that have come out in a long time. I really liked the overall feel with it, even though sometimes I think the whole sea monster aspect gets looked over a little bit, as they kind of just have powers for the sake of it. They don't really explain how it happens. It's just like, oh yeah, we can turn into humans when we're not in the water, and that's just how it is. That's how it's always been. There's no proper kind of backstory on how it's done, which is fine. You know, you don't have to go completely in-depth about it, but still, I feel like it comes a little bit out of nowhere. The movie was pretty funny. I thought the villain was pretty good. He's not even really a villain, he's just honestly a little shit. He's just a shit the entire movie, and it's really funny. And the dad is peak character design. I don't know what genre of men this is in animated movies, but I like it. I allow it, and I vibe with it. It's really great. While it is akin to following the usual Pixar format, I'm not too bothered by it. You know, it does its job, it's fine and all. It still stands out on its own. I think it's still a really creative piece, and it was a really enjoyable movie. It was such a really feel-good time, and honestly, I'd probably watch it again. Like, I haven't really checked Disney's stuff in too long, because it kind of started getting a little bit stale, but from what I've heard from out this year anyway, they've started putting out a pretty good lot of good content, and I'm really happy to see that because it was, a big part of everyone's childhood, obviously, so it's good to see that they're still passionate of making really great movies, and Luca is definitely one of them. For number 8, we have Inside. Not really a movie, more of a stand-up experimental art piece put onto Netflix for more popular gain, but honestly, I think it does deserve a spot on the list because it was a really important and notable piece of content that came out of 2021. I have been on Bo Burnham's radar since I was an edgy 13-year-old kid who loved his edgy humor that he put into it, his nihilistic sense of the world and how he presented himself and his jokes through his character on stage was really, it was humorous to me, and it's still kind of commendable, even if some of the humor is a little more juvenile now, but he still holds some really good comedic potential with a lot of his older works, like What and Make Happy, and especially in Inside. This is his most ambitious project yet. His one-man, in quotation marks, show that he produced all in his own home and made a bunch of songs kind of going through the entire year of his life, from being 30 to being bored and doing absolutely nothing, trying to, make the content that he's presenting to us onto the screen, trying to make it as hard as it gets. It's extremely introspective and emotional at times. It's honestly less of a comedy and more of a deconstruction of stand-up as a whole. It's self-deprecating, it's motivational, it's inspiring, and it's miserable all at the same time. It's really interesting to see how he managed to make all of this work into such a short time. I'm pretty sure the special is like an hour and a half, right? It's feature length, like it's movie length. It's that. Like, it's not, extremely long. It's about as long as his other stand-up would be as well. Some of the notable songs that I really enjoyed off of it were a comedy, How the World Works. The Jeffrey Bezos song is really good. Sexting was also pretty funny. 30 was relatable and kind of sad, even if I'm not even well close to being 30. Welcome to the Internet is obviously a really popular one, but it's also a really good one. That Funny Feeling is really good as well. Honestly, almost all of them are really great songs, but those ones really stood out to me. That were some of the top tier ones. So yeah, you've all seen it by now. I'm sure you have, but even if you haven't, go check it out. It's really great. Don't let the people on a massive corporation app that I'm not gonna name, that was made by China, that I'm also still not gonna name, ruin it by how they made it popular for about a month and then they went back over everything they said by finding out that he used a lot of edgy humor that they didn't like, because a lot of people can be really sensitive nowadays. But anyway, don't let that ruin your experience from watching Inside, because it's still a really good piece of art. My number 7 pick is The Mitchells vs. Machines. I've already talked about this movie extensively in a video a couple of months ago when it first came out, so I'm going to give a brief what I think of it yet again. Phil Lord and Chris Miller can absolutely do no wrong, especially when it comes to animated movies. Their humor, their writing, their directing, everything about it they do is absolutely flawless, and I trust them with an ounce of my heart at this point whenever I see their name attached to anything, whether it be an animated movie or if they're attached to anything at all. I'm there. I am there because they are just one of the best comedy writing duos that have been in the last at least 10 years. They've been around longer, but the content that they have produced is just really great, so I'm really happy for them that they're doing good. The animation looks really cool. It's very quirky. Some of the humor in it gets a little bit cringe at times with a lot of the random XD meme humor. That's fair. That's bound to happen because of the character that the main character is. Katie is that kind of character that is supposed to appeal to Gen Z people and mostly more millennials, actually, now that I think about it. The Furby scene still really cracks me up. The fact that you can write a scene like that and make it work into a movie is phenomenal. That scene is so goddamn hilarious and I love it so fucking much. The movie is so funny and it's such a good family movie. We need more animated movies like this. We need more family movies like this, as I've said in my review. And yeah, just go watch it. It's so great. It's still great. Honestly, I'd put it higher, but you know, there were better movies, to be fair, but it still earned its spot. Obviously, it's still a really great movie. Go check it out. Number 6, I'm gonna have to give it to The Suicide Squad, another movie that I reviewed on the channel. Are we seeing a pattern here? So I don't have to go into complete detail. All I'll say is that James Gunn can do no wrong. He is a magnificent director and he is just so great at making superhero movies. Guardians of the Galaxy, this one, even Super is such a good movie as well. All of these movies are great and I trust him in making these type of movies as well. The music choices in the movie fit so much. The humor in it is immaculate. I am really glad that he was able to have so much creative freedom with the movie, giving it the R rating to have the violence and the gore that it really needed, because for Suicide Squad to work as a movie, I think you just really need to make it balls to the walls action, crazy, bad shit, insane type of movie, and this absolutely delivered in that department in my eyes. That's really all it was. The only reason I think it didn't do well financially in the box office is because of the rating. You know, kids couldn't see it, families couldn't see it, unlike Marvel where they bring in billions because their humor and their films are so family friendly and watered down that anyone could see it at any age. This was made for a specific type of audience. The performances were all really great. Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, even fucking John Cena was great in this movie as well. All the characters were really funny and relatable with each other for them being villains. For villains, they were relatable and compelling characters with depth. Even a character like Polka Man was one of the hearts of the movies, next to Ratcatcher, obviously. God, this movie is really great.
By the way, take a shot every time I say that in this video, good god.
Suicide Squad, one of the best superhero movies of 2021. Probably one of the best superhero movies, actually. I love it. I love it to death. Getting into the top 5 now, and to kick us off is the movie Belfast. This is the first Oscar bait movie that I'm putting on the list. I say Oscar bait in the nicest way possible way, alright? Because I do really like this movie. Belfast is a movie directed by Kenneth Branagh, the director of such movies as Thor and
Artemis Fowl.
He has made other things, but I find those two to be such a divide between this one because holy shit, how the fuck, in the same year by the way, do you go from
Artemis Fowl
to this movie? The movie follows a young boy by the name of Buddy, which is the personification of Kenneth Branagh in this movie as he goes through his life growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, which was a sectarian war against Protestants and Catholics, both religions being against each other and trying to get rid of each other out of the country. It is really powerful and an emotional movie, and it's also surprisingly really funny as well. I didn't expect this to be as humorous as it was, and I don't know how many people will find it humorous. While it is Northern Irish, it is technically still kind of Irish, so me being Irish myself, I think I probably found a lot of humor in some of the jokes in it, some of the inside jokes. I don't know if many like American audiences would really pull from it, but I appreciated a lot of it. The performances were really good. The main kid, this is his first movie apparently, and he knocked it out of the park. I haven't seen kid actors be good in fucking ages, and he was given such great direction. Really just pulled you in, kind of made you feel like you were a part of what he was going through. Just honestly, props, fucking props to the kid. He's so great. Jamie Dornan is in the movie as well as the kid's dad. And this is the first movie that I've liked him in, that I've found him tolerable in. I don't really rate him as an actor, but I think he's pretty good in this one. He gives a nice performance as the dad. You know, he's not really like the kind of one you'd expect to be in a movie like this. He actually cares for his family, and he does anything that he can to try and get him out of the situation, and it's nice. The cinematography is beautiful in this movie. I think that's the main selling point that people are talking about in this, but the way it is shot it gives the perspective that it feels like you were another child with Buddy in this movie. Like, it's all shot very low down. If the characters of the adults are being intimidating and they're talking to one another in a conflict, you will be looking up at them as if you were a child looking up at this big monolith man in front of you. I think it's really clever. And like when you're near doors and stuff, it's always near like the door handle, like a young child would be. And it's honestly such a creative choice, and I'm really glad that they did this because it really brings the movie up so much and it adds so much character to it. I loved it. I really loved this movie more than I was expecting it to. Please, if you haven't looked at it already, do check it out, even if it is obvious Oscar bait. It is really nice Oscar bait, and it's a really lovely movie. For my number 4th pick, I am going to be putting The French Dispatch. I unfortunately didn't get to see this in theaters. I had to get it online a month after it came out, and that is my sole regret of this movie. It is the only thing I regret not doing about it. Other than that, I enjoyed the hell out of this. I absolutely love Wes Anderson. He is one of my top favorite directors. I'd say top 5. Maybe even top 3. I'm not too sure yet. I haven't figured that out. But definitely top 5 anyway. And this is certainly one of his better ones. Not his absolute best one. I think that would still hold ground to stuff like Grand Budapest and Fantastic Mr. Fox. Don't at me. Fantastic Mr. Fox is one of his crowning achievements. It is an amazing animated movie, and you should really check it out if you've been sleeping on it. It's really hard to talk about French Dispatch, honestly. I still don't even know how to really review it because it's not really structured like a normal movie. Sure, there's, the beginning, middle, and end, but it's more about the French Dispatch, which is the newspaper company in the movie, and it's about the people who write the stories for them, and we're also seeing the characters that the stories are about. There's about 3 main stories that take up the whole movie that are written by people who worked in a newspaper company, and it's a really interesting structure that I haven't seen been done in a movie in a long time, and I guess I'll leave it to Wes Anderson to really perfect it. I think my favorite story out of all the ones that were told in it is the Benedict del Toro story about him being the painter in the asylum. It's really interesting one. He's funny in it. It's the more humorous one out of all of them, and the whole payoff at the end of it is really well worth it. The Timothée Chalamet story was fine. Again, he's kind of an actor that's a bit okay, I suppose. I didn't mind him too much in this movie, but to me, he's a very hit or miss actor. Sorry if that offended anyone. It still holds the quirky charm that every Wes Anderson movie has, beautifully shot, having that symmetrical style and substance that all of his movie has. The quality of it is really great. I think the more movies he gets to make, the more his vision is really seen, and this is definitely one of his better ones. I'm really glad I was able to catch it, and if you haven't already, go check it out. It's good. It's really good. I'm definitely gonna piss a lot of people off for my number 3 spot, but for number 3, I'm gonna put Dune as my top 3 pick because it is still one of the best movies that came out this year, but obviously my personal tastes have something to go on it. So don't kill me. I still really love this movie, but it's not number 1. Like, I know a lot of people probably are gonna put as their number 1 pick. But anyway, Dune is the sci-fi epic directed by Denis Villeneuve about Paul Atreides, who is indoctored into the House of Atreides and goes on a self-discovering journey. That is about the best my knowledge has of the movie. Even re-watching it about twice. I've seen the movie twice already, and still the plot isn't exactly confusing to follow, but there is still so much to it. The fact that it was really long, and the fact that it's not even over yet. This is a 2-parter, maybe even 3-parter, depending on how big it gets, because Dune is such a big story to tackle, and I think Denis Villeneuve really pulled it off. With the direction, he can really do sci-fi well. He's one of the best directors currently working in sci-fi at the moment. Whenever he makes a sci-fi movie, this one Blade Runner 2049, all these movies that he's able to do, he pushes the boundaries of what you could expect from a sci-fi movie and really elevates it. I thought everyone was great in this movie. Timothée Chalamet coming up again in the list. This was actually a movie that I didn't mind him in at all. He was good as Paul Atreides. He did well. I didn't mind his presence all too much. His acting was pretty good in it as well, and he was fine as the character. A lot of other ones that I really liked. Oscar Isaac's character was great. He did a good job. Jason Momoa was pretty good and humorous for a movie that I didn't actually expect was going to have much humor in it, but still. Benedict Del Toro showed up again for like a few minutes, but I still really enjoyed his character. People are probably going to talk about Zendaya. I'm not going to, though, because she barely had a presence in the movie, and it looked like she was promoting some kind of fragrance or something like that. Anytime she was on screen, it felt like an ad for something. I was expecting Dolce to come up every time she was on screen. I know she's probably most likely going to have a bigger presence in the next movie, but for this one, I feel like she did not do anything at all. Like, she is a fine actress, but in this movie specifically, she was kind of wasted. The effects are amazing. This is the only time where I'm fine that CG is used because it is so extravagant. Everything to scale is beautiful to look at. The sandworms are terrifying and ginormous to scale. When you see them on a massive screen, it is genuinely terrifying to look at. You are there. You are seeing their presence and you know how much of a threat they are. So impressive. Dune was such an impressive movie. And I think anyone who has said that it is boring has probably watched a completely different movie because Dune was so great. I'm sorry to have it at number 3. I know a lot of people will probably have it as 1 or at least 2, but you'll probably see why. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for these next 2 picks, but look, Dune is really great. It's definitely a 5-star movie. If you haven't looked at it, seek it out. Go get it whenever you can. Find it on a big screen as well. I know it's probably not in theaters anymore, but look for it on a big screen. It is absolutely required. Yeah, I'm about to portray a lot of my film bros, but I'm putting Spider-Man No Way Home at number 2. Listen, it is probably one of the best Spider-Man movies, at least in this trilogy, that's for sure. And it has been the most hyped movie of the entire year. Everyone has seen it. It has made $1 billion, I'm pretty sure, at the box office at this point, more than any Spider-Man movie has. It's up there with Endgame, making that much. Like, come on. And the movie itself is obviously really, really great. I do have my problems with it, obviously. I think there are some moments of really wonky CGI, as to be expected. Some of the humor doesn't land. It's very cringe at time, and I feel like it could have been written a lot better or worked on more. Again, that's to be expected. But, I mean, come on. Seeing all of these characters was a use of nostalgia to get people in the seats. You know, it's one of those movies. It's, you know, it's like The Force Awakens. It's like the new Ghostbusters movie that came out. It's a movie that uses nostalgia to justify its presence. But I think Spider-Man does it in the most loving way because this movie is a love letter to the character of Spider-Man because it gives Tom Holland's character a chance to really become his own character of Spider-Man. It really gives him the chance to slip away from the MCU for a while and for him to have his Spider-Man movie. This is his Spider-Man movie, even if most of the time the villains in the movie steal the show the most. I'm not going to go too heavy into spoilers about it because I know some people still haven't seen it at this stage, even though so many people have. But I know there's a lot of people that still haven't gotten the chance to see it. But I will say, Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus in the movie was such a delight seeing him. His presence was really greatly appreciated, although I feel like he was a little bit underutilized. He could have done slightly a little bit more. There's a point in the movie where he literally just fucks off for about 20 minutes, and it's really sad. But just seeing him there, being Dr. Octopus again, He hasn't changed a bit. There's a moment near the end of the movie, again, I won't get too deep in spoilers, but the dialogue he says feel like it was written specifically for the audience member, and it was a really neat touch. Jamie Foxx is back as Electro, and I really prefer this version of Electro so much more. One, he looks so much better. Like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck were they doing in Amazing Spider-Man 2, making him look like this? Look at it, look at that boy with his fucking hair and shit, his goofy ass teeth. Get the fuck out of here. We got this cool Electro now, and his powers, and, you know, the nods to the original face looking really cool like that. I'm glad they didn't make it too goofy and have him in a yellow and green outfit. You know, they gave him this really slick look, and they explained, you know, his motives a bit better. And Jamie Foxx, you know, under the direction, he can be a really great actor. Just look at Django Unchained. Under direction, Jamie Foxx can be great in movies. I loved him in that, and I loved him in this as well. But of course, I think the crowning achievement is Willem Dafoe back as Green Goblin. This man is an absolute menace in this movie. He is the definition of pure evil, and I love it so much. He plays it so well. He is intimidating as hell, and he is absolutely terrifying at points in this movie. He is insane in this, even if it's not even watered down like a lot of the other villains kind of are. You know, Sandman and Lizard, they barely fucking do anything in this. But Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, he's amazing in it. And okay, a little spoiler, he ends up being like the main villain. He is the big presence of this movie. He is the driving force. Honestly, he really carried it. It was the most hyped thing to come out last year. It's a really good movie. It's one of the better Marvel MCU entries that came out, that's definitely for sure. All of the rushed productions that they had out of their, like, I think 9 products that they put out this year, Spider-Man No Way Home is absolutely the best one. I loved it to death. You've all seen it by now, so I don't gotta tell you to go see it. But yeah, we can all agree that it's such a great movie. Now, before I get into my top 1 movie of 2021, I'm going to be going over my honorable mentions. Damn, is this what it feels like to be Watch Mojo? Because it sure as hell feels like it. So, I have a couple of picks for my honorable mentions. I'm not going to drag it on anymore. I'm probably going to give like 2 or 3 sentences max for these kind of ones, but I still have a few extra ones to go over. You know who had a really busy year in 2021? Lin Manuel Miranda, out of all people. I didn't think he would be relevant again until after his Hamilton fame, but no, he had a total of 3 projects that he had help in. First one I'm going to go over is In the Heights. In the Heights is a adaptation of his first full-length musical, his Broadway musical, about a group of people living in New York Heights and going about their life in the Heights. I guess that's the title. That's the movie. It was a really feel-good movie. All the songs are really catchy and memorable. A lot of the performances were good. I don't really know how to review a musical movie because where story should be, a lot of the songs kind of take their place, but it's still a really enjoyable and feel-good movie that I loved a lot. Another movie that he, I think, wrote songs for as well and had a starring role in was the Sony animated movie Vivo. Vivo is about the titular character, a Kinkajou called Vivo, voiced by Lin Manuel Miranda, whose owner passes away and he's on a journey to deliver a letter to his owner's former partner in music and also in intimacy at the same time. It's a nice, little point A to point B movie. The songs in it are good. Is that a musical? It was, yeah. Vivo was another musical as well. He wrote a lot of the songs for it. I did have to check. They were really catchy. It was honestly a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Another really good feel-good one. Honestly, Sony really are making some good animated movies since Spider-Verse. I think they've just upped their quality so much, and Vivo is no exception to that. In Lin-Manuel's final endeavor, he wrote songs for the movie Encanto. Encanto is Disney's latest animated one, literally only came out on like Christmas Day for people to see. It is about a family in Colombia, and they all have special abilities with each other. They all have their own unique powers, and they use the word gifted as the thing, which I think is the relatability of it, because the movie is all about not setting yourself up for expectations of others and be who you are, the usual kind of Disney thing. But the fact that they use the word gifted, I think, will speak to a lot of people who are considered to be former gifted children who are seen to the world as burnt out. But this movie is basically telling you, no, you're not burnt out. You're not unspecial compared to everyone else. You are still really great. The songs are insanely catchy, and I really enjoyed it. We also had the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Look, it was technically a nostalgia bait movie, and a lot of the millennial cringe humor that they put in it didn't tickle my fancy too much. I still prefer the original 80s movie over it, but hey, this movie is such an improvement over the 2016 one, and I think we can all agree on that. I'm going to put Halloween Kills on my honorable mentions as well. I think I enjoyed this movie a little bit more than most people did, but listen, if you're a fan of the Halloween movies, I think you're going to get a lot out of this. Reoccurring characters coming back, reoccurring dialogue being worked into the script as well, and really interesting and creative kills. I know that the Halloween franchise, at least when it started, it wasn't really about the kills. It was more about the suspense and the fear that Michael Myers had a presence in the movie. But, I mean, I'm a sucker for some really creative gore, and this movie absolutely delivered on that. I'm going to put Free Guy as another honorable mention on this movie. I think people were really mixed on this, but I was one of the majority that really liked the movie. I appreciated a lot of the video game references in it, even though most of the time I'm pretty sure the writers were actually taking a jab at most of the gaming community. When you watch it back, they are really just dragging gamers into the ground. Even just using the word gamer still feels really it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Ryan Reynolds does the same funny family shtick that he has been doing since Deadpool has came out, because it works for him, you know? It is the same role that he gets in every movie. I feel like the writers write these roles specifically with his voice in mind for them. It's energetic, it's feel good, there's a lot of really great gaming references for a lot of people, and there's shilling near the end of the movie, but I try to ignore that because the majority of the movie is really fun-filled. It's one of those fun movies that I actually managed to get on board with this year, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Now then, moving on to the number one, in my opinion, best movie of 2021 that I was able to catch. For my number one pick, I'm going to be putting Tick, Tick, Boom on the list, which is funny. I've definitely grown out of a stage where I really enjoyed the hell out of musicals, and I think I put at least like 3 on this list. That is so weird, and I promise to God it was unintentional. Tick, Tick, Boom is about the life of Rent writer and director Jonathan Larson, about his years before Rent was even thought up about. It is the years chronicling his entire life, going around trying to make a living for himself, make a name for himself on Broadway or even off Broadway, no matter what, whoever will take him, and the lengths that he goes to of trying to make it. It is the story of a struggling, starving artist, and it's really compelling. I think Andrew Garfield did an absolute amazing job portraying this role in such a relatable manner, kind of similar to Oscar Isaac's portrayal in Inside Llewyn Davis, that kind of struggling artist in the relatable way that the two of them have done it. The fact that he had to do a year worth of singing to really prepare for the role shows the dedication, and the lengths that this man is willing to go through for his roles is so commendable. I know a lot of people are really, getting onto the Andrew Garfield hype train right now, but for at least a year or two, I've started looking at his works, and he's slowly becoming one of my favorite actors. He's so versatile, and the range that he has is amazing. There are so many movies that he's been in that he's really great in. Some I can recommend off the fly are movies like Silence and Under the Silver Lake, which I hear it's supposed to be really good. I haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet, but I hear it's a really good role for him. Songs are really catchy and memorable. The opening song itself is such a banger, and the way it's filmed, it is really great. It is such a good way I think the film could have opened. I think personally to me, I just felt a real strong connection with the movie. Me being a kind of artist behind the scenes of doing this little thing. At the moment, this whole thing is kind of just a hobby. Like, I'm doing other stuff on the fly that I won't really go into detail about. But the relatability of Andrew Garfield portraying this struggling artist trying to get his work done, trying to so hard to finish his musicals, I think can speak to anyone trying to finish, songwriting or trying to finish a screenplay. If you're more on the movie side of things, I think people can really have that relatability and the pull to it. And it's just a really magical film to look at. The Sunday sequence is such a big moment for it, almost this dreamlike sequence that is so interesting to watch. Honestly, I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I feel like if I watched a few more movies this year, it would still be high, but I don't know if it would be exactly number one. I don't know how many people I have pissed off with this list, but I am extremely sorry. But I really like this movie, alright? And if you haven't seen it yet, please do check it out, because I don't think it should be a movie that people should miss. It is unmissable and you should go watch it. And there you go. That is my list for the top 10 movies of 2021. I did not expect this video to be as long as it ended up being, but I guess I just talked too much. I had a lot of shit to say. I had a lot of movies to get through. So I guess tune in till I make the worst of list, which is going to be so fun. I can't wait to rewatch those movies again to remind myself, because so many of them were so forgettable that I have to compile into an awful list of shit. But at least we can have a little bit of fun with it before that. So thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed my list. Let's make this a routine thing. We'll do it yearly if I still have this channel up and running. Here's to the year of 2022 and whatever brilliant movies that are coming out then.